Welcome to day 3 of Dan Kau Merantau Lagi, and you wonder once again, a symposium organized in conjunction with the Latif Muhyiddin Pago Pago exhibition that is currently ongoing at the National Gallery, Singapore until the 27th of September 2020. My name is Tamares Goh, and I'm part of the curatorial programs team who has collectively put this program together alongside with curators of this exhibition. We witnessed last evening the streaming of Choy Ka Fai's Wandering with the Ghost, as the artist tried to unpack the late Butoh master Tatsumi Hijikata's ideologies through the physical, psychic, and AI technologies, creating a world that is hyper-speculative as we enter into a mishmash of different worlds across different time, space, and spheres, all in parallel. Technological experiments, anthropological discoveries, dance experiences that swing from the futuristic to the paranormal. Ka Fai's productions are often infused with a sense of irreverence, or the bizarre, or the absurd. The absurdity is perhaps a device to simultaneously disarm and expose preconceptions towards certain aspect of cultural forms and to interrogate present realities and limitations around the human body. Ka Fai's projects have been presented in major institutions and festivals worldwide, including Settlers Wells in London and Pulse Dance Festival in Vienna. We shall start with a video.
初公開 3D の土方辰巳バーチャルリアリティの奇跡、我々の持てる想像力の深淵からお送りします。月の浜辺1950年、当時23歳後の土方辰巳、米山国夫の初舞台。存在の耐えられない暗黒は振り付けについての問題を提起する。霊による振り付けとは、土方と共に踊るための科学技術的な可能性は。
Hello, Ka Fai.
Hello. Hi.
Thank you for dialing in from Berlin. How are you?
It's very strange here, but it's cool. The Berliners are quite relaxed, so you don't feel any tension here, or not yet, because I just came back last week, so I haven't encountered the protests on the weekend. Yeah.
I'm curious to think about because you recently just went back to Taiwan. To Taiwan, you stayed there for a while and then back to Berlin. Your projects have circulated in many countries across many European cities. Can we take you back to this idea of your projects going to many different places, to the various European counterparts? When people see your name, Choy Ka Fai, an Asian theatre director, what do people expect in general?
Wow. That's a difficult first question. I guess recently I stayed in Taiwan for about 6 months, because I only planned to go there for a week. But because of the Taipei Art Festival, I stayed there 6 months to put out or to premiere a new piece of work, and it made me realize something, because of course in Taiwan there is a high degree of freedom of speech. So in terms of the audience, the critics, or the review, they are not something that I've expected. So then I realized actually when I'm based in Europe for the last 10 years, I'm quite in a relative safe space for experiment because I'm from Asia, and when I'm doing work or my inspiration or my sort of material comes from Asia, they are less critical of me than when I was in Taiwan, because I think the first thing that pops up after the premiere was many of them were talking about cultural appropriation, which I mean, I get asked all the time. It's not that I do it all the time. It's just that because of the nature of my work, that I'm always drawing from different culture, from the position of the others. So in that sense, I'm also always traveling to these places. And I guess how it started was really, I think that when I was in Singapore, working in Singapore for 10 years, maybe, I was always looking out or trying to look at different inspiration. And at the beginning, I was very looking at a lot of the Japanese culture. And then slowly with working with Fuquan also for 10 years, he sort of made me, introduced me to a lot of different Asian network and artists. So that's how, I don't know if I answered that question, but that's sort of the most recent realization I have when I was in Taiwan, that maybe when in Europe, there's a different understanding or knowing of my work, but as compared to Asia as well. Yeah.
Do you think it's shifted over the years? The reason why I ask is because I'm going back to your project of Soft Machine, which you extensively was questioning the idea of what's an Asian dance, the definition of Asian dance. So
I guess
really,
yeah. Soft Machine was really. I mean, I didn't expect the way it was received, and somehow, of course, it was widely showcased or widely performed. But I guess also many people didn't really see the performance itself. So somehow I'm being constructed this idea that I'm an expert in Asian dance, which I'm really not, because what I did in Soft Machine was really to search for the independent voices and then to collect all this in a way it's independent in that sense that it's only me and not associated with any institution, because of course this sort of archival work or research was done always on an institutional level. So because of that, then maybe that also gave me some buffer at the end when I make new piece. Then they always think that I'm expert in Asian dance, which I'm really not, because I'm just curious myself when I do all this work. Yeah, and I think but Soft Machine really laid the foundation of a lot of I would say research or understanding about choreographic ideas in Asia. And that's also has been part of my, always within my research and curiosity the last 10 years in the different works. Yeah. Yeah, Soft Machine, I think now these are the 80 people, 84 dance curator, dancer, people that interview and sort of collected the voices over 2 or 3 years. And I'm just going to show you a video of the trailer of the project.
Meitei or Manipur, this is the place where you have to come and you have to study all over, because even the atmosphere, well, even you see, even in dance of Manipuri and music, it's all graceful and soft, because you see the environment.
Philosophy of pain is like it's trying to have like a linguistic defense line for what we do, because what we do is very simple.
Yeah, it's interesting that you've created a library repository of different voices, all from different companies and different kinds of people, and mapping different kinds of movements in Asia. This kind of creating a library seemed to be very much integral in your process. I say this also because I think while you were trying to visit or revisit a lot of the dancers' work, like Ms. Cunningham, Pina Bausch, many choreographers and dancers out there, you seem to be also wanting to create an archive of materials. This moves on to the next project, which I'm also very curious about, which is about collecting the movements in all these various dances to try to map, a kind of, to kind of interrogate the human body, the muscles in all the human body. So I'm very curious about this project. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I think Soft Machine was made in 2012, and then prior to that was the project called Prospectus for Future Body, which was basically, in a way, my master work when I was at RCA in London. And I think at that point, after making work or end up producing work in Singapore for the last 2-3 years, I just left. And then when I was in London, I really have time to gather or to recalibrate in a way, or to look at what I want to do, and also this idea that somehow it seems that few years I was always trying to accumulate knowledge. So that's why somehow it becomes like a accumulation of library, because I'm searching for all this information, this history, and also because I'm coming from a non-choreographic training. I'm not trained in choreography or dance, but I'm just interested. Of course, I do physical theater and I work a lot with dancers. So I guess that's how it actually comes together. And so this was also quite interesting, because this was the time where I actually was playing a lot with muscle memories, electrical nerve stimulation. And I don't know why that immediately the image when I was trying on myself to make my muscle contract artificially, or in a way I want to become a human VJ. It reminds me of the Butoh dance form, or in terms of the physical expression. And then later on when I went to research, it does really has some sort of a parallel. So the work, I started by really thinking about what if I could, in a way, in a very speculative way, that what if I could transfer one movement from one person to another. So the first video was really a test with my classmate, and then I'm trying to stream his arm. I'm trying to move my arm and send this data and artificially electrocute his muscle to move like me. So the second one was really trying to record my own movement. And then I was trying to simulate Tatsumi Hijikata, how he moved, and condition my body to move like him. And then I have this idea that what if I could actually learn his dance? That means to teach myself Butoh. So I used one of his last stage performance in 1973 called A Summer Storm. And in a way, I redesigned all this muscle movement and condition myself over a period of time to try to imitate or to receive his muscle memory, which I call like muscle memory transplant. So in a way, I'm able to dance like him 30 years later across a different time and space.
Was there any physical limitation in trying to redo what? Because obviously you have a very different body from Hijikata.
Of course, there is a lot of limitation, and also because when I was at RCA, Royal College of the Arts, we were neighbors to Imperial College, so I have access to a lot of scientists. So I actually met up a lot of them and was trying to look at, dance sport, dance science, and then like how the muscle work. And because I'm using a really DIY technology, it's not even medical grade. So in a way, if I would electrocute the muscle over a certain percentage of voltage, it actually doesn't contract the muscle anymore, and it burns the skin. And also that the bigger muscle mass would take even much more precise instrument to simulate. So in a way, at that point of time, I sort of tell myself I'm not a scientist, so I'm still an artist. So in a way, that this whole scenario or speculation was about what if we could do this, and then I went on to make a series of work based on this idea.
Very interesting, because Hijikata, I realized as well, has a series of notations that's quite similar to also this Library of Archives. He was also trying to, or the archivists now are trying to really study and understand Hijikata's notations of like 3,000 different sorts. Him, like an ink pot or so many different things that, he was trying to look at. Even, I think there was a quote from somewhere that every bit of Hijikata's life became a dance. So that's very interesting how it's been mapped.
Yeah, I think when I first look into the Hijikata notation, Butoh notation, I was really skeptical because there's a lot of ambiguity. There's a lot based on the interpretation. So what is documented in the Hijikata archive in Keio University in Tokyo was really based on one of his so-called disciple, Waguri, Yukio Waguri, and then it was really based on his notebook when he was working or creating, rehearsing with Hijikata, and then he note down what he said. Of course, and also a lot of time I feel like it was over sensationalized. Like, that's also initially before I started working on this project, I felt that a lot of the Butoh practitioner, it's bordering sometimes to the more spiritual, or to use Butoh with, almost like a new age spiritual self practice. So in a way, that's why I actually spent almost 1 to 2 years to really educate myself in a way to understand. And also, actually, I also collected a sort of archive with about maybe 30 different Butoh practitioners from internationally or within Japan to find out about their process or the things. So that notation, actually, I still have doubt, but that's why it was also a great source of inspiration when I was creating the project Unbearable Darkness, which was later made into a stage performance. Yeah.
right now, I just want to really comment on the fact that these projects, with it transcend. It sort of there's a crossover between the scientific realm and the artistic realm as well. A lot is really, you mentioned that there is doubt over some of Hijikata's notation, and I think the very force of doubt as well make you visit a project, and vice versa. I think, I think the spirit of collecting our archive and to build an archive could be also, in a way, trying to find the missing links. In this, I shall take a break from the conversation that we had earlier, but we'll come back to it in just a minute. Yeah, I'm quoting from one of your writings. I'm always searching for some kind of liberation or different forms of catharsis. And maybe I have a tremendous yearning for freedom, especially now in the time of a pandemic. The notion of freedom is constantly being redefined in every part of the world. I start to question myself. Why do I need to wonder? Wonder, 神游. Wandering is important both to our human mind and body. Wandering is a bodily experience, a method for discovering the unknown. A wandering mind would help us speculate on our past and future selves. Cosmic wonder is a continuation of my curiosity on the human body. For the last 10 years, I have become obsessed with explorations of the human body in dance, science, and technology. For the last 18 months, I've embarked on this amazing journey into the cosmic realms, a journey to uncover, discover, and recover our aspirations to transcend. Cosmic wonder became an experiment with trance, an experiment with images, sounds, and bodies, an experiment in between religious ecstasy, spiritual entertainment, and the possibilities of artistic endorphins. What fascinates me most is the moments of transcendence, the moment of altering states of mind and body, the before and after euphoria for me. Dance has always been the way humans use to achieve transcendence. So I'm very curious because I think a lot of your projects, you really put yourself at the forefront, even though you say that you're not a scientist. You put yourself at the forefront of science, and also you put yourself you say you're not a trained dancer or choreographer, but then you also put yourself, your body out to physically test the different terrains.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's from my performance art beginning, where the body always comes as the center. And of course, after that, I move into theater. Still, the body is quite central to everything. Or in a way, I always talk about the liveness in theater or performance. And I mean, the contact gonzo one, there's no other choice, because if you want to tell the story, you have to experience it first before you can tell the story. So I think also that this idea that I'm always have to experience it first, and especially with Cosmic Wonder, the most recent work that I am there. I mean, in different ritual, meeting different shaman, encountering them, but I also always have this fear that maybe I have the calling that one day I may stuck, for example, in Siberia, and they say I should become a shaman, I'll train with them. So this idea that, I mean, it's a fascinating proposition in terms of how, if you tell how to become a shaman, or like in Siberia, actually in YouTube, you can find this video documentary called So You Think You Can Be a Shaman. So it becomes also the connection with popular media and then reality TV. So in a way, yeah, I guess that's experiences is really the foremost or the most important when I sort of sense the world in that sense, or sense the things that I'm interested in, and I'm constantly feeding my own curiosity and being very restless as well. That's always when I go into a new city, I go into the unknown, I get stimulated, and I see different things in a way as compared to working in a space or in a fixed site. Yeah.
We go back to now Hijikata. What made you so interested in this? I mean, you've interviewed so many choreographers and dancers and theatre directors, but what's so makes you so drawn to Tatsumi Hijikata?
I guess with Hijikata and Butoh, it's really some sort of a visual attraction, because I think that sort of bodily expression in that sense, of course, coupled with a lot of its history of Butoh when it was created in the 1670s, arising after the war, the atomic bomb. So that it's so much imagery, and also it's proposed really a different visual form to the human body. So, I mean, also in the research I did with Hijikata, he was really so much inspired by Francis Bacon, that this idea of how he actually, in a way, when you look at Francis Bacon painting, it's like a body in motion, in contortion, but he really made, for example, from a painting into a real movement. So, I mean, that's on a, how you call that, rationale level. And then, of course, maybe if I would say sometimes it's something that is more on the unknown, or in a way that maybe at this certain junction, this time, I sort of get reconnected a little bit, because I think I first saw like a summer storm when I was like in art school. So I was in Tokyo and just got the DVD, and I was so fascinated. And then about maybe almost 6-7 years later, I made Eternal Summer Storm. And then after another 8 years. So I don't know why it's sort of recurring, but maybe this time where I made Umbrella Down, I thought that this is the time I really go really deep into understanding the whole thing. And also maybe in a way, Butoh itself needs an update after so many years, because I guess the most authoritative document or documentary that's made maybe like 10 or 15 years ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you were very curious, and you start to visit the shrine of Tatsumi Hijikata, and I think this propelled several things in looking for the spirit of Hijikata, and also you encountered a photo book by Ekon Hoseo.
Yeah. It's quite funny that you imagine it as a shrine of Hijikata, which I always think, because he's almost worshipped as some sort of a supernatural being. But of course, I think that shrine exists in many places. But how it started was really, I went to I first visited his archive in Keio University. So he left behind many things, and like notebooks, audiovisual material, books and texts. And there were so many people talking about or works that's inspired by this sort of great artist. So that's why I thought maybe there's no other way to really find out even more than to speak to the person himself. So that's why I set up this idea that maybe I should reach out for his spirit through different realms. Yeah.
Were you successful in doing that?
Yeah, I think I first heard about my Japanese artist friend told me about this place where you can reach out and call the spirit from the past, from the dead, in this place called the Fear Mountain or Sorisan in Tohoku, where Hijikata was from. And then I think before that, I actually went to his tomb and his memorial, and to really ask him that, hey, if he would meet me, because normally in this case it would be your friends or relatives. So I never met him. So I actually just went and tried to make my own communication. and after that, then I sort of went to. So I was actually quite careful and respectful all the time. Also, that sort of this self-censoring, because there's so many Butoh practitioner, or in a way, to a certain extreme, the purists would be looking at what I do. So there's always this, can I call it check and balance from the Butoh community. So I was always quite careful in every step. Yeah.
I think you did a lot of research also. I mean, we'll recount some of the stories that you told me before. Maybe this aspect was also this really trying to find out what people thought about Hijikata.
Yeah, I think also that was really looking at a lot of artists' work, and who say they are inspired by his writing, inspired by his work. So I thought that maybe in a way to do this, the mother of all recreation, I should just reach out to the person himself. And actually that was until that point, I think that was really where I start to depart from trying to make a Butoh performance, because I think at the end I'm inspired by his work, his dance, his choreography, but at the end, I feel the Butoh is always in a way some sort of attitude. Then, at least for me, then compared to some sort of a notation. So I think until the point where I spoke to him and invited him to collaborate, then I start to sort of take on more creative freedom with that sense, because I sense after researching that, in a way, he is also a very creative, and I always try to imagine that if he have lived on until today, he would sort of be interested in what I'm doing, in that sense, to work with technology, to infuse dance, to look at dance from this perspective, because I also look at motion capture technology. So I sort of take on that freedom to do or to create, in that sense. Mm-hmm.
I think at this moment, a lot of people out there would be very curious about how you spoke with Tatsumi Hijikata. Because I think, you've been mentioning that you spoke with him. I think there is a process behind speaking to Tatsumi Hijikata as well. Yeah, maybe you can let us know about the how you got there.
So I actually look for the shaman, which is called Itako. She has an official webpage. And then you can actually click, and online you can actually apply for a session. And if you have a Line app, you can also use it to do that. So I think the first time was really traveling to this Itako place, and of course I prepare my research. I asked all his friends and disciples, what if you will meet Hijikata again, what would you ask him? So I guess that's I went prepared. But when during the session, I sort of really felt his presence. So, I mean, of course, I didn't know after I went back to read the transcript of the interview with the ghost. I was really convinced that he was talking to me, because he was talking about the aesthetic of the aging body. And also at that point when he was dying, or he was very sick, he was really looking at how to dance in the last few years. So, but of course, then this was the first time, and I did an audition because of the summer festival in Osoesa. So I went on to call for his spirit with different Itako or shaman. So like the center one, because she was sort of like I would say traditionally the Itakos are blind. So either they are blind, and then they would go on and dedicate their life to help people. And this was one of the last one. I think she's 80 years old, but she's really old and getting forgetful. But she almost worked as she would try to advise me what to do for my well-being as well. And then, of course, the left one on the left one on the screen was the one that I felt the first time that she was really connected. And because I always imagine that when the spirit comes, it's a stream of thoughts, and the shaman or itaku would actually translate or interpret it into words. And then, of course, I also have a conversation with him whereby I ask him different questions. Serious and not so serious question. And then the other one on the right side of the screen she was really like a counselor. So she was really wanting to find out. I mean, these are all their methodology that she was really wanting to find out, like about the person who is asking, what happened in your life? Why do you want this? I mean, this was before and after. And I guess also recently I was working a lot in Taiwan with the Taiwanese shaman. I sort of also realized or discovered that traditionally in every village they would have a donkey or a medium spirit in their community, and actually this medium spirit would know everything about maybe the villages of 100 people, like the kids, what he do, how he grade last year in school. So I think that this role of the shaman or medium spirit almost acts like a social worker to a certain sense. But also to cater to your spiritual needs or psychological need as well. Yeah. So I think that was a bit sidetracked, but after meeting with the shaman, of course, that whole festival, that space of this whole concept of going into the underworld to reach out to a spirit and inviting his presence, basically inviting his presence on stage back across to blur this different realms of the real, the physical and the virtual as well. Yeah.
So eventually you went for the shaman on the right in the picture. On the stage.
The left side of the screen, yeah.
Yeah, stage left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did doubt ever come into your when you
in this process?
Okay. Yeah.
All the time, because like I even budgeted for like 10 sessions to ask him to come to our rehearsal space to look at our rehearsal. But in the end, it was not so possible because the shaman didn't want to travel to Tokyo to look at our rehearsal. So at the end, it was back and forth. I think at the end, I asked that shaman the second time was to introduce the collaborators, so like his physical avatar, the dancer, to Hijikata spirit, and ask for inspiration. Because when I was talking, I was saying that maybe I could give you guys a lot of inspiration. So that process until that point was really trying to reach out directly, but somehow I think with the how would I say, with ghosts in the sense of spirit, sometimes it becomes omnipresence as well. So I think after that, through that whole process, after the last session until the premiere of the project was about a year. And from there, I even set out email account to write in my thoughts to him, thinking that Hijikata would read my emails and send him production schedule and rehearsal timing. So then he becomes, in a way, I imagine him almost like my dramaturg of the piece. But of course, I also have a real dramaturg for the creation. So, and also because we are dealing with all his material, and yeah, that process was when I was making it, I was really calling it a paranormal sort of dance experience, where I'm trying to, even when we show the work, we have the seat for him, and I make a costume of him, thinking he's there. So in a sense, it's always to surface maybe all this different sort of presence. Yeah.
I mean, the reason why I mentioned believing or doubting is also you you mentioned an aspect of forgery as well. You know, I quote from you. You mentioned that's relating to the people recounting Hijikata, the villagers trying to recount Hijikata, but people are relaying the stories to this old lady who cannot remember Hijikata, but she's relaying the story via people's memory. So forgery, you said, allow you more artistic freedom to express and to experiment, because subsequently you also created an Instagram account of Hijikata. So I'm just wanting to ask you about this blur between the popular culture today in terms of the fake and the real.
Yeah, I guess this idea of forgery really came. I was looking at, I think in China, there was like really painting factories that paints like Van Gogh and stuff like that. But also I was really intrigued by, for example, like the Chinese mobile phone maker. Like basically they can make a perfect reproduction of an iPhone, but they actually give you even much more than what iPhone doesn't want to give you. So this idea that if I'm going to make a work or to collaborate with artists with such a great history, and then there's no point in just to reproduce or recreate whatever he does. I have to give something more. So that's where I have this fantasy about forging or making forgeries, but also very much inspired by this old lady I met, where she was inside one of the photos of Eko Hosoi. And then she actually don't remember what happened, because many people, researchers come, and then the people around her actually try to replant memory into her. So I thought that ambiguity and process was really interesting. That which after I made the performance of Unbearable Darkness, suddenly I realized that maybe some of the audience thinks that whatever I did in the show was what Hijikata did before. But actually halfway through the show, it actually went on a different parallel world or trajectory, that it was really about speculating about a 2.0 of Hijikata. What if that's sort of looking at many different things like pop culture and making Hijikata do different sort of dance. Yeah. So I guess that forgery statement was really trying to give myself more creative freedom, but also that to which was quite surprising, because initially I was quite worried about how the Butoh, I always call them Butoh people, look at the work, and in a way it feels that they understand that you cannot always cling on to something for so long, that sometimes forgetting is the way to innovate in that sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I interject here because you mentioned about not to cling on for too long. So there's a deliberate attempt as well to not use the shaman anymore as the interface of your work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, but also I got advice from a monk, a Japanese Shinto monk, that I was asking what does he think if I would actually rehearse with a ghost. And then it was really quite simple. He said that when you blur the boundaries of the living and the dead too much, it may not be good for both human or the ghost. And also, I think suddenly also one friend or curator who I was talking to, she was like, now you are working with him. What if you have finished the project and he doesn't want to leave you? What would you do? So at that point, it becomes that presence or the distancing start to appear, that maybe it's also time that I take the creative initiative as well. Yeah.
You're not chasing after so after that, I think you mentioned also you're not chasing after the accuracies of Hijikata, but you're more trying to capture the atmosphere of Hijikata. Maybe we can look at the proposition as well for the new version of Hijikata.
Yeah, so as we know now, Olympic 2020 didn't happen, but this was made like 2018. So I was really having this speculation that what if until today, Tatsumi Hijikata is still the most famous cultural export. Would he be invited to choreograph for the Olympic opening ceremony? Which coincidentally, the real official choreographer is a partner's choreographer of my friend Daito Manabe, and I saw this instructional video, and I thought it would be nice to use a Hijikata avatar as the main choreographer to teach people how to do this bond dance, which is actually in Japan is about dancing with the ghosts. Yeah, I guess also, I mean, in along this trajectory, I was also thinking a lot about many different questions. Like, of course, the project received a lot of support from the Japanese art funding. And I was also really questioning that about this idea of really nationality, because I mean, which is nothing wrong. Like if I apply a funding from a arts council, I would have the member from that country. So I was asking if I would collaborate with a Japanese ghost, can I apply for the same funding? So that's also a different sort of trajectory, but also because in 2018 at that time, I think a lot of my Japanese friends and colleagues were really not so receptive to the idea of having the Olympics. So it was also about trying to voice out a little bit about, I mean, this whole culture of Olympic, the commercialization and what it does to the whole community or the society. Yeah, and I guess there's a lot of this. What I call is really speculation that at the end it didn't made it into the show. so like I even have Hijikata doing a pop dance for a TV series, which yeah, it's like this idea that once I created this or go into the virtual reality or the virtual world, I mean the imagination is endless, but it's really how when you put things together or when you just suppose or appropriate different things that maybe new meaning will arise from there. Yeah.
I like the idea of applying for funding via the ghost. Maybe we come to the last two questions in this segment. Yes, you streamed your work Wandering with the Ghost yesterday, and I think you made a special request that you wanted to stream your work for the last day of the Hungry Ghost. Maybe I just want to find out about this aspect of your request.
Yeah, because I just realized it was in my calendar when we were talking, and I think last August I was in Taiwan, and it was also the Ghost Month, and I wanted to invite the gods into the theater, and then I didn't realize during the Ghost Month, the god doesn't want to leave their temple because there are all the other presents. in the world around us. So I guess then it was in my calendar. I said, oh, this is like the ghost one because I'm working in Taiwan. But then I thought that this work as also in my performance that I would always think that there are other beings or audience in the theater. So I thought that maybe we should do this just before it ends, that maybe the otherness or the other presence can actually watch it as well.
So I think just the last question to round up this session is really this idea of the other, as you said. You've been wandering, physically traveling to Siberia, Taiwan, Vietnam, across Eastern Europe, and then now you're situated in Berlin. This is with reference to the speaker on the first day, Terence Ward. He says that in reference to Sufism, Rumi in particular, that the journey usually completes the person, and it's also the other is a way to encounter or to understand your relationship with yourself. And in the same way, I would say that Tatsumi Hijikata also ventured into the other, like the transmutation of the human body into, for instance, the dog, right? So it's just a comment on that. Yeah, maybe just to hear from your perspective.
To wonder or the otherness.
They in this wandering to seek the other.
I guess also it comes with I don't know, like, I mean, a good example is maybe like, because my mom is Buddhist and I'm Christian. So I would actually not hold the incense when I go into a temple. But after some time when I encounter more things, it feels that I should accept or acknowledge the presence of all the others. So now when I go to the temple, I would still, I would pay respect to them. So I don't know, it's really maybe also the so many years of traveling when the unknown or the invisible, I wouldn't say I would sense them, but I think to acknowledge them and to coexist maybe, because maybe I realized over the years that we are not alone in that sense, that there is so many other things. And also because I traverse also across so many different culture and community. So with each new encounter, it actually gave me maybe new ideas or new knowledge of how different people live as well. So I guess that's always why I'm always restless, that I always want to go and to see and experience for myself. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ka Fai, for this very insightful session. For those who are interested to watch Wandering with the Ghost, you can visit the recordings of the streams made available on YouTube and Facebook channels of National Gallery Singapore. Also, please stay tuned and join us for the next session. The calm has brought disquiet. That will close the symposium. We've gathered poets and practitioners Pauline Fan, Adam Khoo, Alfian Saad, Nabila Syed, and Nasri Shah to be alongside in conversation with my colleagues, Erica Lai and Chin Yi Lim, to reflect on wandering as a kind of constructive visioning and mobility device. Now I shall leave you with a video of Ka Fai's ongoing project.